Yeah.
Which gear?
I own the company Moonlight Industries.
Okay.
Oh, really?
So we make like low visibility.
Oh, really?
We specialize in like, right now we have a contract with SEAL Team 6 actually.
Okay.
We make their like low visibility MP7 rigs.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
Okay,
awesome.
cool. So, were you expecting us?
Well, what didn't surprise me when I saw a guy in a plate carrier showing up. So
Well,
got the
we're
Ultima
obviously-
OTBs on. So.
Yeah, no. So the reason why we're here is because I don't know. I'm sure you're aware that just recently the ATF classified the FRTs, the force
Sure.
reset triggers, as machine guns.
Yeah.
So we are aware that you may have purchased some of these FRTs.
Okay.
So now we are having, like, the whole agency is basically reaching out to these purchasers,
That's incredible. Yeah.
and we have to pick them up. You know, they're
Okay.
illegal. So
I won't be answering any questions today. I don't have any comments on this subject. I won't be giving you anything.
okay, so you
Are you refusing to give us the trigger?
I'm not refusing anything. I won't be answering any questions.
okay. But okay, so we are aware that you did purchase FRTs. Again, you wouldn't be in trouble if you just give those up to us, or
Okay.
if you sold them, you can tell me you sold them.
Sure.
You know,
Okay.
and you're not going to be in trouble for that.
I understand.
So we're just here, honestly, like, just to pick them up.
Sure. Sure. It's a bigger conversation than what you're having right now. You know, you decide as you go the rules, right?
Again, that's not something I decided.
It's not. I know. You guys are just here.
I
You guys
don't
are just here.
Yeah, I don't disagree with you at all.
I understand.
I don't want to be here any more than you want me to
Sure.
be here.
It's the problem is you are the people who go and knock on the doors, right? So when they make new laws and you break them, or you go against the citizens, because they've spoken what they buy and what they do, the citizens are speaking, but the government is making their decisions on what they think. They're not being servants to the citizens, right?
And all we're saying is, you know, like, I mean, we, like you said, you know, we just here, we are the ones that just come and knock on the door. We just
Sure.
enforce the laws. We don't make the laws. So
Sure, I
you know,
understand.
I hear what you're saying.
Yeah.
Like I said, you're not in trouble. I mean,
No,
you can
I
buy
understand
them, you know.
No, I didn't do anything wrong. Exactly. That's
So-
yeah. I love good law-abiding cops who are good people, are doing what they do, and I understand you have families to feed. You're just doing what you're told, so you don't get fired from your job. But there is a problem that exists, and at some point you have to make your decision on which side of the team you're on.
16 states want to prevent the returning of unlawfully taken property. Welcome to another installment of the Connecticut Gun Bench. Today's video is brought to you by P.A.N. Firearms, LLC. P.A.N. Firearms for NRA certification of multifaceted gun training. You can reach us at 203-300-6343 or use our website at www.panfirearmsllc.com. As always, there'll be a link in the description box below. If you like channel, like content, and what I do, you can support me with the link. Everything is appreciated. And once again, an online store is open. You can get yourself some cool merch once again to support what I do here. Also, I am getting notifications, emails, telephone calls, people saying that they've been subscribed to me and not getting their notifications. I suspected that something was going on for quite some time, but you got to be vigilant. Just make sure your notification is turned on. And if you're subscribed to me, make sure that's still active. Let's talk about this. And this is really interesting news. What has happened was, if you remember, the case of the force reset triggers, where the ATF redefined them as machine guns. That went through the courts. Texas court said, no, these do not fall under that definition. Now, you have to keep in mind that this was not a Second Amendment case. It was a procedural act case. They're saying that the ATF, or the plaintiffs, were saying that the ATF overstepped its boundaries, and it did. And this is, of course, as we know, is not the only case. We got the arm brace rule, bump stock rule. We got the 80% receiver rule. We got all kinds of rules that the ATF just arbitrarily made up and then tried to put in place like it was a law. Well, the courts told them each and every time you can't do that. But in the force reset trigger rule, a Texas judge said, you can't do this, you can't enforce it, and you must return the triggers that you took from people. Well, 16 states led by New Jersey have sent maybe you want to call it an amicus, to the courts saying we would rather you not do that and delay the returning of these triggers. But this is a big deal. But let's come into here. Anti-gun states ask courts to pause returning FRTs, force reset triggers. 16 states led by New Jersey have sent a letter to the United States Courts of Appeal for the Fifth Circuit objecting to the return of force reset triggers to their owners. Okay, we know that the permanent injunction was put in by a Texas court. No need to get into all that. But in that ruling, the court said you cannot enforce actions against owners and companies that sell and produce these triggers, and the court told them you must return the ones that you took. But the states who are not a part of the suit are now trying to intervene, claiming that the return of the triggers presents a significant and irreparable damage to the public. MLN News hasn't been able to determine a single crime committed with an FRT. There's the problem. The states acknowledge they are not a party in the case, meaning that their letter might fall on deaf ears since the court is under no obligation to consider the state's arguments. That's the plus in this whole thing. But the letter reads, MSC states right to notify the court that appellants have begun the process of returning confiscated force reset triggers in light of the February 22, 2025 return deadline imposed by the district court in order on appeal. National Association Gun Rights versus Bondi. The return of these weapons, they call it the trigger, a weapon, presents a significant and irreparable danger to public safety and underscores the need for a prompt ruling from the court reversing the district court's final judgment and order. Although MSC states are mindful that they lack party status in this case, they are ready to apprise the court of this notable development. Okay? What it seems like, and as he goes right into it here, the states are asking the Fifth Circuit Court to use intermediate scrutiny to stop the trigger's return. Intermediate scrutiny weighs the rights of the people against the interests of the state. This legal term was used to uphold gun laws across the country until the Supreme Court Bruin decision. In Bruin, SCOTUS said that only the original text, history, and tradition from the founding of the Second Amendment could be used to determine if a law is constitutional. Since Bruin, the courts are no longer allowed to use intermediate scrutiny to justify upholding gun laws, which is a very positive thing because this wording here, in light of Bruin, well, basically means, yes, this letter will probably just go nowhere. Okay. The states also use the excuse of health, safety, and welfare to justify their letter, as they do with every anti-gun law. Every single one is always about the health and safety of someone else. Someone else they really couldn't give a damn about, because if that person got run over by a freaking truck on New Year's Eve, we just shrug our shoulders and move on. Think about it. When's the last time you heard anything about that story? But these excuses have been tried in other cases dealing with firearms. In all those cases, the move failed. The law doesn't have a public health exception for guns. The states complain that they are at the mercy of the federal government's interpretation of their own state laws. And as I pointed out, NAGR versus Bondi is not a Second Amendment case. It's an Administrative Procedures Act. The plaintiffs are claiming that the ATF overstepped its statutory power, which they did in every single one of these cases. Arm brace, bump stock. Now, if you remember, the bump stock was banned by Trump, but he still didn't have the authority to do that because that just got overturned. Let me come on down to here. The Fifth Circuit has already ruled in a case that made similar arguments. The case was Cargill versus Garland. This is the bump stock ban. It deals with devices known as bump stocks that the ATF concluded were machine guns, even though it did not meet the statutory definition of a machine gun, 1934 definition. The appeals court ruled that the ATF exceeded its power and knocked down the rule. The ATF appealed to the Supreme Court, which affirmed the lower court's decision. Okay, let me come out of that. So just in light of that, there's no chance this letter goes anywhere. But once again, why are these states wasting taxpayer money to do this? This is not going to change anything. As it pointed out, FRTs have never been used in any crime that we even know of. And the bump stock was used once. One event. And it's not to downplay the tragedy of it all, but as I pointed out before, name a victim of the New Orleans truck attack. 15 people were killed, 57 injured. Name one of them. Name one. And they can't. That's why when they do these things and then talk about public health and safety and yada yada, you're sitting there going, yeah, but that only seems to apply one way. Well, you don't have any credibility, and they don't. But we're going to see what's going to happen. This letter's in the court. It probably will get kicked out. But once again, just the fact that they had the cojones bring this letter to the courts, no, it's funny. and this is just a side point, that the left always says you got to listen to the courts when the courts rule in their favor. When they don't, they say, oh, we can just ignore the courts. We can just defy the courts. Very strange how that works. But let me know what you think. As always, you can leave your comments in the comment section below. And as always, any statements of violence or statements that lead to violence will be removed. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Don't forget to hit the notification bell so you're notified the next time a video goes live. I am going to see you on the next one. Peace.